Hello dear readers and subscribers. Today we're going on another stroll throughout recent art history to discuss 10 of the most shocking and controversial artworks of our time. And even though our previous video with 10 controversial artworks consisted of Vito Acconci masturbating for 8 hours a day while narrating his fantasies to the gallery visitors, or Galerie Schneemann pulling out a scroll from her intimate parts, up to Wim Delvoye tattooing living pigs, I would almost say that those 10 controversial works are just a warm-up for what we're about to show in this video, to this extent that for one work I won't even be able to show you the image of it. So sit back, brace yourselves, and let's get started. Hermann Nitsch is a key figure of the often controversial Viennese actionist movement. The Orgies Mysteries Theatre was first presented in 1962 and would be a continuum throughout Nitsch's career. One of the most controversial aspects consists of the ritualistic slaughter and disembowelment of animals, often using their blood and entrails as part of the performance. These acts intended to evoke ancient sacrificial rites and confront audiences with the raw realities of life and death. In several instances, Nitsch faced legal consequences, including arrests and court trials, particularly in the late 1960s and 70s, as authorities deemed his work obscene and in violation of animal cruelty laws. German artist Joseph Beuys' How to Explain Pictures to a Dead Hare from 1965 remains one of the most enigmatic and debated pieces in 20th century conceptual art. The performance occurred at Galerie Schmela in Düsseldorf, where Beuys, his head covered in honey and gold leaf, moved through the space while cradling a dead hare and appearing to whisper explanations of the exhibited works to it. By engaging in a silent, intimate dialogue with the dead hare, Beuys subverted the authority of the art world and challenged the idea that art could be fully explained through language alone. Beuys was not afraid of controversy. Think of other notable works within his practice, such as I Like America and America Likes Me, in which Beuys spent 3 days confined in a gallery space with a living coyote at the René Bloch Gallery in New York. VALIE Export's Tap and Touch Cinema of 1968 consists of a feminist performance artwork that directly confronted issues of objectification, voyeurism, and the male gaze. The performance took place in public spaces, where Export walked through the streets wearing a small curtain box over her bare chest. Passers-by were invited to reach inside the box and touch her breasts, though they were unable to see them. By transforming her body into a living cinema screen, Export challenged cinematic representations of women where female bodies are often objectified for visual pleasure. This reversal of control sparked significant controversy. By reclaiming agency through a physical and conceptual intervention, Export had set a precedent for feminist artists exploring themes of autonomy, visibility, and resistance. Otto Muehl's Manopsychotic Ballet is a provocative performance artwork that emerged from the radical practices of the Viennese actionist movement. Muehl staged this performance as an anarchic, chaotic spectacle involving nudity, bodily fluids, and extreme physical interactions between performers, fully naked, mimicking sexual intercourse, extracting a tampon from one of the female performers and presenting it to the audience between his teeth, male performers urinating on the body of a female performer, and introducing a live chicken that was possibly slaughtered on stage. The scene ends with Otto Muehl defecating towards the camera lens, which was shot separately and did not take place during the live performance. Critics and audiences questioned whether Manopsychotic Ballet was a legitimate artistic expression or an act of pure provocation. Chris Burden's Shoot in 1971 is one of the most infamous performance artworks of the 20th century. Burden stood in a gallery space while a marksman whom he had instructed shot him in the left arm with a .22 caliber rifle from a short distance. The piece was recorded on film, capturing the moment when the bullet grazed his arm, causing a visible wound. By subjecting himself to real bodily harm, Burden challenged the limits of personal endurance, audience complicity, and the role of violence in both art and American culture. The work remains one of the most extreme examples of performance art, questioning the artist's responsibility to their own body and the ethics of spectacle. Now that we're halfway through our video, I would briefly like to thank Squarespace for their generous support, making it possible for us to continue to create these top list articles and videos. We did the research for the best website builder for artists, and Squarespace came out on top, so we reached out to them, created a complete article and tutorial on how you can create an industry-approved artist website with their platform, and we also have a 10% promo code for you. So if you're looking to professionalize your profile as an artist with a professional artist website, which is a must-have for all artists these days, definitely consider using Squarespace and our free tutorial, which I'll link to in the description below and in the pinned comment. Now, back to the controversy, because the best or the worst is yet to come. Marina Abramović psychologically intense performance artworks cannot be omitted from this list. Although there are a number of performances worthy of an inclusion, think of Rhythm 5 of 1974, in which the artist lay in the center of a burning 5-pointed star until she loses consciousness, or Rest Energy of 1980, pointing a tensed and possibly deadly arrow to her heart. However, we decided to go for the breakthrough piece Rhythm 0 of 1974, a 6-hour performance staged in Studio Mora in Naples, in which Abramović stood passively while the audience was invited to use any of the 72 objects placed on a table. While some participants engaged with her gently, others escalated their actions to the point of cutting off her clothes, drawing blood, and even placing a loaded gun against her head. Abramović exposed the ease with which people can become perpetrators when authority is absent. Santiago Serra is a contemporary artist tackling the exploitation of those who have no voice in our society. However, in his controversial piece titled 160 centimeter line tattooed on 4 people of 2000, many argued that Serra is complicit in exploiting people, albeit for art's sake. The performance took place in a Spanish gallery where 4 heroin-addicted prostitutes were hired and compensated with a dose of heroin in exchange for their consent to be tattooed. The work was criticized, particularly regarding the ethical implications of paying individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds to alter their bodies permanently. Critics argued that the participants' economic conditions comprised their ability to give fully autonomous consent, framing the act as exploitative rather than artistic. However, Serra defended the work as a raw and unfiltered reflection of the realities of global labor systems, in which economic necessity often forces individuals to undertake degrading, painful, or dangerous work for minimal compensation. Jan Fabre is a multidisciplinary artist with more than one controversial event throughout his life and career. In 2000, during the Ghent open-air exhibition Over the Edges, among the many installations featured, one in particular dominated public discourse: Jan Fabre's transformation of the columns of the Ghent University's aula, which he covered with 8,000 slices of smoked ham, amounting to over 600 kilograms of meat. Fabre conceptualized the columns as the metaphorical legs of the university, representing reason and intellect. By covering them in ham, he sought to skin them, exposing their flesh as a way of making the underlying structures visible. Although the meat used in the installation had been deemed unfit for consumption, the artwork sparked considerable controversy. Many critics condemned the piece as an unnecessary waste of food, arguing that dedicating such a large quantity of meat to an artistic statement was irresponsible, especially in a world increasingly aware of food scarcity and waste. The controversy did not end here for Fabre. 12 years later, Fabre was beaten up while jogging due to an incident when filming a new piece in Antwerp City Hall, in which his team threw several screaming cats into the air, causing them to land hard on the stairs. To make matters worse, in 2022, Fabre has been convicted for acts of violence, harassment, and unwanted sexual behavior in the workplace, although the artist and theater director has consistently denied any involvement in criminal offenses. Andrea Fraser created one of the most provocative artworks of the 21st century. Untitled of 2003 consists of a 1-hour video documenting a sexual encounter between Fraser and an anonymous art collector who had paid $20,000 to participate in the project and also to collect it in advance. By framing this exchange as an artwork, Fraser explores the ways in which artists engage with systems of patronage, commodification, and institutional critique. The controversy surrounding Untitled stems from its explicit nature and its deliberate conflation of art making with the transactional intimacy. While some critics praise the work as a radical critique of the commodification of both art and the artist's body, others questioned whether it generally subverted these power structures or simply reproduced them. We conclude our list with Maurizio Cattelan, who is of course not afraid to shock or provoke. Think of works such as La Nonna Ora of 1999, consisting of a wax sculpture of the Pope lying on the floor being struck by a meteor, or Him from 2000, depicting a kneeled praying Hitler, or the infamous Banana with Comedian of 2019. However, the following artwork was so shocking that I cannot even include an image of the artwork in this video. However, I will include a link to it to the gallery's website and the foundation's website so you can see the artwork. The installation Untitled of 2004 consisted of 3 life-sized mannequins of children hanging with rope around their neck from the branches of Milan's oldest tree, creating an unsettling juxtaposition between innocence and brutality. Within 48 hours of the installation, an outraged citizen had destroyed the artwork because it traumatized actual children who lived nearby. To see these 3 boys hanging on a tree in the city center on a historical location, many deemed the artwork simply inappropriate to be presented in a public setting. However, Cattelan defends his artwork, stating that there is a lot more violence on television than in this particular artwork, and that we see it on a daily basis, but are no longer aware of it or react to it. As he famously quoted, "I actually think that reality is far more provocative than my art. It is borrowed from reality. If you think my work is provocative, it means that reality is extremely provocative, and we just don't react to it." To make matters worse, the angry citizen who arrived at the scene with a ladder and a saw to cut down the mannequins from the tree lost his grip and fell down with his head on a railing, leaving him in a puddle of blood, and was rushed to the hospital, with one of the 3 boys still hanging in the tree. However, after this incident, the city decided to remove it. I look forward to hearing your responses to these 10 rather extreme and shocking provocative artworks in the comments, and especially we're definitely going to create a part 3 because there are 10 other works that I believe that I have to mention in such a list before publishing the final article. But if there are any more artists or artworks you think should be included in this list, definitely let me know in the comments. There were some terrific suggestions in the comment section of the previous video, of which some of them have been featured in this video. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Feel free to watch our part 1 with 10 more controversial artworks next. Support us on Patreon, and please consider subscribing to stay posted for more contemporary art. Bye.